So I've invited some of you to consider a electrical cord, and this is a ball of twine. I'm in the middle of packing at the moment, and my yarn's packed away or wool's packed away in a box, but I've still got my kitchen box nearby. So that's a ball of kitchen twine, or I have an extension cord. All right, so just a little thing. If you're going to use an extension cord, there are two ways you might wish to use it. It's better if you've got a really long one. This isn't a super long one, but I have used this one before. Some of my clients have actually liked to put it together and just have it as a big loop, all right? Others have used it separately. So you can just feel your way. Hopefully most of you have a ball of twine or wool or yarn, all right? But it is flexible if you need to use something else, all right? Okay, so what I want you to do is think about an experience that you've had recently with somebody who you really enjoy their company. Maybe it was somebody new, actually. I mean, if you've got a new friend or a new encounter with somebody, but if not, then just a recent pleasurable experience, neutral to pleasurable. It doesn't have to be, highly pleasurable, but we want something that was kind of pleasant. All right, that might be a good scale, is kind of pleasant, and a little bit more if you wish. All right. And so we're going to actually just think about that for a moment. And then I want you to just set the wool or twine, how you would like to actually feel, how you're actually feeling around that relationship with that person. Okay. However that might be, in your seat. You can stand up if you wish, because this is, it's totally an embodied experience. Now, what you might find as you do that is there are things that want to be in that boundary and things that don't want to be in that boundary. Okay? You might want things that don't touch it and that do touch it. I'm really pleased that some of you are standing up. You can really, sometimes it's a really easy way to get that string exactly how you want it. And maybe that's really close to you, right? So, and if you look around, you might, like, for example, you can't really see here on my screen. I've got this lovely Tibetan brass singing bowl here. And in my boundary, I want that in. Oh my gosh, and I can feel that straight away, right? There's something in my boundary now that just feels different. I felt it. It was just like a little zap. Okay, so, feel free to notice what you do and do not want inside that boundary, okay? There might be something that's kind of messy on the floor or something, and you're like, oh, I don't want that in my boundary. It's a little bit kind of, untidy or not the right color, right? We don't have to really know with our minds exactly why we do or do not want this thing, but just notice what changes when you do, all right? And we'll all have a different kind of awareness of how we're affected by these things, and that's part of what these embodiment exercises do, is build your awareness. Okay, we don't all start off after years of conditioning, social conditioning. We don't always end up with all of our awarenesses intact. So building them is part of the process. All right. So just let yourself feel that boundary now around you. And some of you, I notice, are touching the boundary, and that is fine, right? Have yourself that visceral, then you have a lot more control over that boundary. I'm going to actually invite you, especially if you're touching it, to bring it either closer or further away from you, with still that person in mind. But all of you can do that, actually. With that person in mind or that encounter in mind, bring that boundary closer or further away from you and see if you get any different change. You notice anything change. You don't have to notice why, but just see if something changes. And you'll all have different ways of tuning in to those changes. And what we want to do is try to notice sensations if possible, right? So there are, we can have an emotional response. Like we might go, oh, I feel a little bit more frightened or something. But let's see if we can actually drop it down to the level of sensation. Oh, felt my heart get a little faster there, or I took a breath when I didn't need to, or I let go a breath, right? So that we actually move away from, a sense of, putting meaning to it. And there's nothing wrong with meaning, by the way, but from a nervous system perspective, the nervous system doesn't work in the language of meaning. So we're actually just trying to expand our vocabulary, right? It's almost like saying, okay, we all speak French and English really, really well, okay? The language of emotions, we speak really, really well. The language of the mind, we're really awesome at it. So French and English, or Chinese and English, or whatever we like, we're great at. What we want to do is learn to speak Turkish, okay? Or we want to learn to speak Italian, or whatever we want to learn to speak, okay? So this is the language. The nervous system has a different language. In fact, I really feel like it's not even a spoken language. It's more like the language of music or mathematics, okay? So it doesn't really directly translate. So we can't really have a translator for the nervous system in the same way that we would have a translator from, let's say, French to Turkish or whatever it is, okay? So this is what we're trying to do. We're just trying to actually listen to how the language, the nervous system talks to us, all right? And it may be through, and hopefully, usually it's through sensations more than the things that we know, the emotions or our thoughts. So, our boundaries provide so much information about what actually, how we want to relate to these people and what feels safe and what feels right. And I tell people all the time, the thing that the purpose of a boundary is for deeper connection. Okay, so that we're not actually trying to actually build walls between ourselves and others. The boundary is there so that we can actually have more connection and feel safe while doing that, okay? So it's actually an opportunity to connect more deeply when you set boundaries, or when you establish limits or rules or conditions upon which you want to relate to that person or thing.